Hey everybody, and welcome back to a new video. So today guys, we're going to be doing the 5-inch build of the Realacc X210 4mm drone. So I've already got the frame out, and so first thing what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab our motors, and we're going to go ahead and mount our motors to our frame. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the camera down here for just a second, and we'll go through this whole build. Well, here is our frame. And so if you can, let me focus in. Alright guys, so here's our frame, and I got my soldering iron over here. It's currently warming up. So when you work on the frame, this is the back edge right here. This little guy. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take out our motors first. Okay, perfect. There we go. Alright, so it comes with two sets of screws. So since we're using a 4mm, we're going to use the longer screws. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the longer ones out here. So you have, like I said, 4 short ones, and you'll have 4 long ones. And for the thicker frame like this, we're going to use the longer bolt, basically. So so how this is going to work is basically, so our blacks are going to be like this. Let me look at my old frame. Yep, okay, so our black motors are going to go like this, and our other motors are going to be like this. So our black motors are going to be our clockwise, because they are going to spin in a clockwise. These two are going to be our counterclockwise, and they will spin the opposite direction of time. So, and that's how that works. And you can kind of actually, if you look on the motors themselves, you can kind of actually see which way the arrows are pointing. This one is pointing in a clockwise motion. So remember how I told you guys in the original video how to tell how to put on your props was right hand, or bottom right turns right. So this is the right hand motor. This one will go opposite of this corner. This is my counterclockwise. It'll go up here, and then this one will go here. Alright, so we've got that. And then when you attach these to the frame, try, if you can, when you're installing the actual motors, to make sure that these wires are kind of your best to try and get them straight, because we do have to hook these up to the ESCs, and then eventually we're going to hook them up to the power distribution board. So I'm going to pause for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get these all screwed on, and I'll be right back and show you what that looks like. Here we go. Here is the drone frame with the motors on. And again, the little notch back here, this indicates the rear of the drone. So back right is the black, top right or top left is the black, and then the opposites are that way. So that's what that's going to look like. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and get my ESCs out here. Okay, and these are pretty easy. Okay, so how these work, guys, is this is going to be the part right here. So negative is going to go to the power distribution board. The positive is going to go to the power distribution board. The 3 pads right here, that's going to be for your motor wires. And then these white and black, that's actually going to go to your flight controller. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of solder on the pads, and then I'm going to come around here. Now, the way these are actually going to fit is they're going to fit right here on the frame like this. So your motor wires actually aren't going to need to be like super long. Alright, so you're going to kind of want to cut them. If you can kind of see that, let me bring the camera, zoom it in for you guys. There we go. Okay, so if you can see, so the motor wires are not going to be super long because they're going to hook directly up here, and then we're going to, once we get the power distribution board, we'll kind of cut these wires to size as well. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these all up here really quick, and then try and get a measurement. And also, before I put these down here on the carbon fiber, I am going to use a bit of double-sided sticky tape like that to keep those in place like that. And that's how they're going to go. And then once I have them all hooked up, then we'll just put some electric tape around them to hold them in place on the actual arm itself. So I'm going to go ahead and trim all the ESCs. I'm going to get everything tinned up, and then that'll take me a little bit, guys, and then I will come back and show you my progress. So as you can see right here on the motor wires, I've tinned up the wires. Now when I'm talking about tinning up the wires, basically is what I'm talking about is right here on the wire, you just add a little bit of solder on it to where it holds the wire on there. And I've already put a little bit of solder on my pads here for the ESC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the ESC right here for just the moment. I'm going to go ahead and grab some electrical tape in my box here. There we go. And this is just going to kind of to temporarily hold it in place so way it doesn't slip around. So I'm just grabbing some tape here really quick. There we go. Again, this is just a temporary hold on the frame. This is not where it's going to fit exactly, but this is just kind of so that way I can get to what I need. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my first wire here, and this guy is going to go directly right here. Let me grab my angled tweezers. There we go. Okay, so I've got my soldering iron. Here we go. Grab this little sucker. There we go. Okay. And I apologize if you guys can't see the soldering all too well. It's really hard to solder and film and talk all at the same time. So I'm just going to lightly just hit it with the soldering iron. That way the wire connects onto the ESC. There we go. That's one. I'll bend this wire a little bit. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so let's try this again. This is probably the hardest part, is these little parts that you have to solder together like this. So there we go. Push it kind of close. All right, let's give this a try. Again, I'm not the best solderer in the world. I would say maybe I'm okay at best. Okay, so there's one. Alright. And then here's number two. I think I need a little bit more solder on this wire here. I should have enough now. There we go. Okay. All right, and we're going to do the last one here. There we go. Okay. And when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and real quick take my tape off. Like I said, this was just to kind of temporarily hold it in place so it didn't quite scooch around. Now you'll probably lose the little sticker up on the top, and that's okay. You don't need it. So, but let's give it a nice tug-a-roo. Nice and smooth. There we go. Okay, so that's what it should look like when it's all nice and at least one is soldered on. So I'm going to go ahead and work around and get these around. Now, one thing I wanted to remind you guys, when you get to the clockwise motor up here. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that when you get to this clockwise motor on each side, let me go ahead and pull the camera out a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so when we get to our clockwise side, or counterclockwise side, opposite, whatever how you want to call it, make sure that you switch one of the wires. So it can be the outside one or the middle one, doesn't matter. So you just have to swap them like that and then go like that. Okay, so you don't want to put it straight on. You want to swap one of the outside wires to the middle. It can be the right one or it can be the left one, it doesn't matter which one. And then once you do that, that basically reverses the polarity in the motor and makes it spin the opposite direction. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this, guys, and I'll show you my progress when I get back. So here is my progress so far. I've gotten my motors all hooked up to my ESCs, so we are good to go there. Now before I get any further with this, I'm going to go ahead and grab my power distribution board, which is right here, and that's actually going to be the next thing that we're going to work on. So what I'm going to do is cut this open here. There we go. Now this particular power board, it comes like this, and normally you hook up this little guy, the XT60 connector, on it like that. But I'm going to do mine a little bit different because I don't want, I don't like the connector. So what I'm actually going to do is I've already got a XT60 connector with a pigtail. And what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut these wires a little bit to size because they're a little bit long. And then what I'm going to do is solder them up, and then what I'll do is actually I'll put them through like that, and then I'm just going to solder them directly on, so that way they are connected there, because I like being able to put the pigtails through, and I like to be able to kind of go like that and not be restricted to be using this connector. But I will keep this connector because you can always use an extra one of these, so that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and also, while I'm at it, I'm going to solder up all the pads here and get those all ready to go. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll show you that when I come back, and I'll be right back. Here is my power distribution board. I've got everything all soldered up. So here's where my ESCs are going to go on the corners here. Like I said, I'm not the best solderer in the world, but I definitely got it done. There's the little pigtail that I put on there, so you can see the solder's nice and touched and everything like that. So, and right here on the board there is a ground, a 5 volt, and a ground and a 12 volt. So I went ahead and soldered those up because I don't know what camera I'm going to be using just yet and what VTX and everything like that. So I think that's about it for right now, and next thing I'll get this put onto the actual board or to the frame, and then I'll show you guys the next step. So as you can see, I've put the power distribution board here, I've connected it to the frame itself, and you can see I've actually wrapped up my ESCs with some electrical tape, and I've already shortened all the wires and cut them to the sizes here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and cut these wires, I'm going to tin them, and then I'll go ahead and solder them all to the board. I'm not going to do these because these go to the flight controller, but I'll go ahead and finish that part, and I'll show you guys when I am finished with that. You can see that I have finished soldering up all the ESCs to the board. So the positive just goes to the positive, the negative, positive, negative, and you do those all around. Now I haven't hooked up these white ones because these are actually going to go on the flight controller themselves. So that's that. And if you look right over here, I've already actually connected, I used a small piece of wire for the 5 volt in the ground out, because it takes 5 volts to power the flight controller. You can see that here, I'll bring it up into the picture. So I've just basically hooked up a little black wire to the ground and a little red to the positive, and then right here on the flight controller, let's go ahead and bring this over. So again, this is the SP3 racing board, so the F3 board. So sorry, I'm going to try and get it as best I can here in the picture. There you go. So you notice all these little squares right here, basically, right? Okay. So up here they're numbered. Up at the top there's a 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this top line, that's for your ESCs. So the ESC number 1 will plug in here, the white wire, and the number 2 will plug here, 4 or 3, and then 4. And then this middle is for power, and then the bottom row is for ground. So I've basically soldered that one, that one, that one, and that one, and then it came down here and did the corresponding negatives. Now over here I soldered in a positive and negatives, and that's for, if you flip this over you can see that's my power for the actual flight controller. So I didn't plug it in up here because I don't have a 8th ESC, right? So I don't have to do that. And then the other thing I went ahead and did, as well as I know I'm going to be using an FrSky transmitter or receiver, so I went ahead and soldered the receiver hole, the negative or positive, and then negative over here. So that way when I get the receiver I can just go ahead and solder that straight onto the board, and then I am good to go. So yeah, so we are definitely coming along with our 5-inch build here. Like I said, got everything, and so what I'm actually waiting on right now is I'm waiting off some more standoffs. These are just some screws to hold this down so that way it doesn't flop around too much. So I'm waiting on some standoffs. For some reason my kit, it did not come with standoffs, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if I just lost them when I opened the box. I looked everywhere around, I couldn't find them, so they may have just not, you know, put them in there. I looked at the description and it didn't say anything about a standoff kit, so maybe this particular kit doesn't come with it. I assumed it did, and I guess that's where I assumed wrong. I should have ordered those ahead of time, but those I ordered from Amazon. They were pretty inexpensive and pretty cheap, so when they come in I'll be able to get my flight controller next, and then hook up my camera, and then we're going to get this thing almost rocking and rolling. So I will show you guys my next update coming up. As you can see here, I've got all the ESCs. They are all wired up, and I've also got my receiver wired up, and I've also got my camera as well wired up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my VTX, and I'm going to go ahead and plug in the camera to make sure everything's powered on, and then basically we're going to go ahead and just button everything up. I'll put on the sides and I'll show you guys what it looks like when I'm done. As you can see, I've gotten the VTX. I hooked up a antenna on there. The camera's good, and looks like my receiver is good. So everything powered up, no smoke, anything like that, so everything is good to go. So next step, what I'll do is I'll put the carbon fiber sides, I'll screw on the camera, and I'll get everything buttoned up, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it is completely assembled. So here is the finished Realacc X210. So this is the finished product. Now I've still got a few more things to do, so I've still got to button up the antennas here. I think I'm either going to feed them through the top, or I may tape them to the legs and put it out. I also have to get in here and tape my VTX down. I had to change the VTX. The square one that I originally put on there was too big, and it's not going to work for this particular frame, so I've got one on order, but it does work otherwise. And then the camera, you can see it's got a nice angle on it, and you can adjust the angle as you need, like that and like that. And then what's really cool about this is I can actually put one of my action cameras right on the top there. That's what that bracket on the top is meant for. So, but this is it, guys. This is the finished product. I think it turned out pretty sweet and pretty nice and clean build. So I am really impressed with it. I still have to also get it in beta flight and go ahead and do all the programming and everything like that, but this video is running pretty long already, so I don't want to bore you guys with any more of the build part, but yeah, so this is it. So this was filmed probably over a good week's worth of time. I didn't have a whole day to just build the whole drone, so I had to build it in pieces. So, but I hope you guys appreciate this video here, and if you guys like this build, hit the thumbs up button for me, guys. If you like my videos and you like my channel, hit the subscribe button down at the bottom there. And if you want, there's a little bell. The little bell just lets you know when we have new videos. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we have a video, and every other Sunday we have our live Q&A for everybody. So definitely check those out. And if you're not a patron and if you feel like supporting the channel, head over to my Patreon page. There'll be a link down below. I'm going to go ahead and put a link to the kit and everything that I bought for the kit that wasn't included in it, and you guys can check it out. So look for the footage of my first flight, depending on weather. I don't know if I'll be able to get it out this weekend, but I'll definitely, hopefully, be able to get it out next week. We're supposed to have some really nice weather. So, but and these are those stock propellers that they sent. So I put some red on the front and some orange on the back, just to kind of give it a little bit of flair. But I'm really impressed with it so far. I really like the way it looks. So, guys, thanks for all the awesome comment and support. I appreciate it, guys. Keep it up. And as always, let's keep our drones up in the air and flying high, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for hanging out, and have an awesome day.